Oh! Wow, I wasn't expecting that. Hi, welcome back to the kitchen. In this video, I'm going to be curing a piece of bacon, and it's a piece of back bacon. It's like a bacon joint that you can buy in the shops. It's about 1.8 kilos, and I'm going to cure it with a smoked fermented chili sauce, some treacle, and all the usual stuff like salt and Prague powder. But I'm also going to add a little bit of black pepper to this. So let me just run you through the ingredients. So I'm going to make up a brine. So we're going to be brining this in a bag. I've got a litre of cold water here. I've got 100 grams of ordinary salt. This is ordinary table salt. Nothing added to it other than an anti-caking agent to make it free flowing. I have 14 grams of Prague powder for the brine. I've got a tin of treacle, and I'm going to put a few tablespoons of that into the brine bag before we seal it. And this fantastic, beautiful, aromatic, smoky, this is just a divine sauce made by me and my mate Mark. If you want to see the video for this, there's a link in the description, but it's on the channel. It's a fantastic hickory smoked fermented chili sauce. So we're going to be putting a big glug of that in the bag, and of course coarsely ground black pepper, about a teaspoon of that. Right, so first thing we need to do is to make the brine up. So I'm going to be getting my water, 100 grams of salt are going to go in there, 14 grams of Prague powder, and that's for the brine. We'll give that a quick whiz together, and that is pretty much all we need to do. There's not a great deal we need to do to the meat here, other than basically put it into the bag. Right, so I'm not too worried about this brine, that will dissolve in a moment. Right, we'll put that to one side and we'll focus on the meat for now. So the meat's really important. We've got to ensure that this brines nice and effectively, and to do that we want the brine to penetrate. Now, if you've seen my other video on brining in a bag where I did a small ham joint, a small gammon joint, you'll see that I injection brined that. And I'll leave a link in the description if you just want to go and have a look at that video, because it does cover how we do that in quite some detail. But for this particular ham, I've got a little bit of time on my hands, so I can allow it to go for a little bit longer. But I'm going to use my old murder death tool here just to put some holes in this ham and allow that brine to sort of penetrate this meat effectively, and so that we cure it right to the center. In the early days of my brining, and I'm sure anyone who's brined stuff before will know that if you don't leave it long enough, you'll get a unbrined bit in the middle, and that looks unsightly. We don't want that. So let's go through with this, and this is a great tool for making sure that your meat has got the necessary kind of transparency for the brine to just sort of diffuse into that meat. So there's lots and lots of holes in here. Now we're going to concentrate on the other side as well, because if you think about it, brine won't go through fat without a little bit of help. So by using this tool, we can achieve that. Now this is not going to be a bacon, so it's not going to be sliced like a bacon. We're going to use this for it's going to be like a ham, but for slicing, so that you can pop it into sandwiches. So it's going to be like your deli ham, if you like, but it's like a bacon style of that. So rather than using a leg joint, which you would traditionally use, we're using this loin joint here for that same purpose. Right, so full of holes, and just to make absolutely certain, I've got a massive skewer here, and this is one of my barbecue skewers, and that's an oak barrel stave there that it's sitting on, so that's lovely. And we're gonna just stick this right the way through the meat, out the other side, and we'll do that every inch or so. There we go. There we go. And this is just making sure that we've got holes in this meat to allow that brine to penetrate all the way through, and that will ensure that we get a nice even cure. Last thing we want is to have a blonde bit in the middle that is uncured. So there we go. That's loads and loads of holes through that. So that's done. Next thing we need to do is pop that in our brine bag. And that is pretty much it. That keeps the bag upright for us, which is helpful. Now, I'm gonna just give that brine a quick stir again. Yeah, that's almost dissolved there. So that's done. Just a quick word about the brine. So the Prague Powder number 1 is a mixture of salt and sodium nitrite. Now sodium nitrite is the curing agent that will make the meat look pink when it's cured, and that gives it that traditional ham look. Without that, it's very unlikely that you're going to get pink meat. You'll get grey cooked pork, and that's not what we're after here. So next thing we need to do is to add our ingredients to the bag. So I'm going to put a nice glug, about 4 tablespoons of this beautiful chili sauce in here. I had this on beans the other day and it was just simply insane. Curried the beans, very nice. So that's in there. Now, treacle, notoriously difficult to work with and incredibly messy. So what I'm going to do here, if you can see what I'm doing, I'm going to be taking a spoonful of this treacle. Oh, goodness me. And then getting it in the bag and then wiping it, literally wiping it off the spoon like that, front and back. And I'm going to go for another one. Now, obviously this is going to need to be dissolved into the brine, and that will take a bit of time, but it will happen whilst it's doing its brining, its curing. And this will come out the most amazing colour. I remember last year I did a treacle cured bacon. I'll put a link in the description to that if any of you are interested in watching it. But it certainly made a beautiful, beautiful bacon. And it looks really cool as well. Black bacon, I think they call it. And you can smoke it as well, and it's absolutely delightful. Right, that's enough of that. I can get carried away with treacle. It's just one of those things that is incredibly easy to get carried away with. Treacle is one of those sort of childhood flavours for me. You know, I had it at a very early age, so I really do like it. Right, so let's get back down on this. Back to business. I'm going to put my teaspoon, I'll put probably a couple of teaspoons of cracked black pepper in here, and that will give us a nice peppery finish. It's looking good. And then we're just going to get the brine into the bag and we'll seal it up. And try and wash all this ingredients around. So there we go. Right. Pepper always does that to me. Always, always, always. So there is our. Let me just get rid of this treacle. I know that's going to cause me some issues. Right. So we now need to seal this in our vacuum machine, and that, trust me, can be a bit of a tricky mission. So we're going to need to reorientate this bacon in the bag so that it's nice and square, and I'm going to pop this back into the measuring jug because it sort of holds it straight. Now I've got my vacuum sealing machine here, so you might want to come round and view this from a different angle. Now the idea is that we close this up and we offer the vacuum machine up to this, like so. And it's quite tricky to do. It helps if I've got enough cord. So there we go. And I'm just literally going to hold that in place like that. I'm going to close this. Now, I'm going to be pressing vacuum seal, cancel, and then seal in quite quick succession because I just want to lift that little bit of air out of there. So I've got to be quite nifty with this. There we go. So we're going to pop a seal on that. Okay, so that's done its thing. Let's open it up and check the seal. Oh, that looks pretty tasty. Might put another seal on that just for safety's sake. Let's see if that's holding first. This is always a bit of an acid test. Yes, look at that. So just for the old belt and braces, I will pop this in here. I'll try and maneuver it so that it's just going to sit nice and squarely there. And then I can close this down. Here we are. We'll just run a seal cycle on that. And there's our second seal. That's our backup seal. And we're ready to go. Okay, right, so there we go. This is our bacon or our ham in here, and you can see that's getting darker and darker already. It'll take a little time for this treacle to break down, but you know, we can help it out by doing what I'm doing here. Going to give it a little bit of a tickle. We'll visit this every day just to make sure that it's doing its job. I really do like brining in the bag. I think it's one of those techniques that can save you an awful lot of space. Whenever people brine, they tend to brine in a bucket, and buckets are big and they take up lots of space. It's great in winter because you can do it in the comfort of an unheated garage where you've got temperatures that would otherwise ordinarily be sort of fridge temperatures, you know, 5 degrees Celsius and below. But, you know, if you don't have that luxury of that temperature, you're going to need to do this in a fridge or a cold room. And if you've got brine buckets around, they can spill and cause all sorts of trouble. This, on the other hand, you can sit this in a bowl, in the fridge, or even if you've got a spare shelf in the fridge, you can just sit that on the shelf in the fridge and not worry about it at all. And it's good to go. And this will go for a few days now. So we are going to cure this for a little while. We've put lots of holes in it, so we're hoping the brine's going to go through there quite readily, but I would still brine this for around about 2 weeks. And so that's going to be ready for between Christmas and New Year, and we'll boil this up, have this in sort of cold meats and sandwiches into that period of Christmas, between Christmas Day and New Year, where you're just sitting around eating most of the time. Well, I am anyway. Yeah, and that reminds me, we're going to need to get out and do some walks as well, just to sort of burn some of that off. This is going to go in the fridge. We'll pop that in the fridge now. We will revisit this every day just to make sure that everything's going to plan and that we don't have any leaks, which I'm pretty sure we won't have. And we'll come back and visit this in 2 weeks' time. We'll put this in a pot, boil it up like an ordinary ham, allow it to cool down, and then we're ready to slice it and have that in sandwiches. And we'll do that. I want to come back to this with you guys and taste this, because I'm hoping that chili will get infused really into the center of this ham. Right, let's pop this in the fridge and we'll catch up with this in 2 weeks' time. This has been curing now for 14 days, and what we're going to do is we're going to drain off this brine and we're going to pop it into a container, and we are going to get this on the boil. So first thing I'm going to do is get this bag open. I'm going to try not to spill any of this brine. I'm going to try and keep this brine. You know what they say about Wiltshire cures? They are actually worth something. So I'm going to try and keep this and use it again. And because it's got a lot of interesting things in it. So this had the fermented chili sauce in it, which is quite interesting. And I'm going to bag this up and probably freeze it until next time I use it. I might replenish the salt just a little bit. So we'll get all that out. Properly open this bag now. And we're going to go and plonk this into the bowl of water.
So first things first, I'm using a large-ish pan and filling it to about a third full. I'm bringing this up to the boil and reducing the heat. The ham goes in when it's just about simmering. I'm not cooking the ham to a specific time here. Instead, I'm using a temperature probe and I'm looking to achieve an internal temperature of 68 degrees Celsius before I remove the ham from the water. But look, if you don't have a temperature probe, you can cook a joint of a similar size for about 35 to 40 minutes. When the ham comes out of the water, it continues to cook and the temperature in the middle still rises a little. In this case, it reached an internal temperature of 70 degrees, but by the time I rolled the film, it had actually dropped to 69 degrees Celsius. But take my word for it, this is cooked all the way through. To stop the ham from cooling down too quickly, I'm covering it with some foil and putting a tea towel on top just to keep that heat inside. To ensure the meat doesn't dry out as it cools, I'm wrapping it in cling film. When it's wrapped, I'll allow it to cool naturally and then pop it into the fridge overnight to chill down properly. That will make slicing the ham a whole lot easier.
Okay, this has been in the fridge all night, chilling and firming up. Now, just to remind you, we cured this with the most amazing fermented smoked chili sauce, some treacle and black pepper, together with the salt, etc. And this is now ready. Oh, look at this lovely jelly. Oh. Right, so I'm going to take a few slices from this. So let's see how we go. It's nice and firm, which is always a good sign. Okay. Take some nice thin slices. I don't always use the slicer when I'm doing slices. I like to sometimes go a little bit manual. Now this is a slice, or this is a joint of bacon which you would traditionally see as back bacon, but I wanted to cure it like a ham, and so this is what we're left with now. And I've got to say, I wish it was smelly vision, because you could really appreciate the aromas coming off this. The chili is quite marked, it's very well pronounced, I can smell that. So let me taste this. I mean, these look amazing. I'll take a little end bit here. Okay, so here goes nothing. That is really nice. So you're getting the flavour of the chili coming through. There's not a great deal of heat, which is fine. I can taste some heat. You're getting the sweetness from the treacle, which is amazing, and it's not too salty either, which is something that I think a lot of people tend to want to try and shy away from when they're having cured meats. So I'm going to declare this as a bit of a success. Quite a cheap cut of pork as well, and this was straight out the supermarket. I think I paid about, must have been about $3.99 a kilo for this particular cut of pork. It's a loin with a little bit of streaky on it, so it's traditionally the cut of pork that you would use to make back bacon. If I show you that, you'll see that that's your traditional cross-sectional area for a back bacon, and I just wanted this to be like a sliced deli ham for sandwiches, etc. I'm going to get some of this packed up on gold boards and get it in the freezer, but as far as I'm concerned, that's the chili. Oh! Wow, I wasn't expecting that. That came late.
Slicing this ham allows you to pack it into vacuum bags so you can freeze it down and you can have it whenever you like. If you want to see one of my videos on slicing and packaging cured meats into vacuum bags or even onto gold boards, then I'll leave a link in the description for one of my videos where you can see that in a lot more detail than you will here.
Very nice. I'm going to declare this a success. Well, until the next video, let us know what you think on this. Leave some comments, give us a subscribe if you got something from it, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, folks. Bye.